Volcanoes are Earth's geologic draftsmen. They've made in excess of 80% of our planet's surface, laying the foundation that has permitted life to flourish. Their volatile power create mountains as well as craters. As time goes on, the volcanic rocks break down, and the nutrients from these rocks makes excellent fertile soils that have allowed civilizations to thrive. There are volcanoes on every continent, even Antarctica. As of today, there are around 1,500 volcanoes that are still considered active around the world. Now let's take a look at the worst volcano eruptions ever in human history. The 1600 eruption of the Huayna volcano. On February 19, 1600, in the upland region of southern Peru, a volcano named Huayna exploded. Recorded as the largest volcanic explosion in South America, it saw a volcanic eruption up to 30 kilometers, which not just destroyed villages for many miles but also impacted societies and agriculture worldwide. The explosion was so powerful that it caused mud flows over 70 miles away. It is said that it killed at least 1,000 to 1,500 people in the region, wiped out vegetation, buried the surrounding area with 7 feet of volcanic rock, and damaged infrastructure and economic resources. The eruption had a significant impact on Earth's climate, causing a volcanic winter. Temperatures in the northern hemisphere decreased. Cold waves hit parts of Europe, Asia, and the Americas, and the climate disruption may have played a role in the onset of the Little Ice Age. Floods, famines, and social upheavals resulted. This eruption has been computed to measure 6 on the Volcanic Explosivity Index. The eruption lasted from February 19, 1600 to March 6, 1600. The volcano has not erupted since 1600. Ilopango Volcano 450 AD El Salvador. The Ilopango volcano in El Salvador erupted so violently in 450 AD that most of the entire country was covered in volcanic material. Thousands of inhabitants of the early Mayan cities had to flee their homes, though their entire civilization changed from being one based in the highlands of El Salvador to the lowlands of Guatemala and the north of the country. There is still a lot unknown about the Ilopango volcano eruption, but there are currently multiple projects being conducted to find out more. It is now known as Lake Ilopango, where people vacation to and enjoy many water activities. Lake Ilopango has been a popular tourist resort for over 50 years. Santa Maria Eruption 1902. It was a mega-earthquake on April 19, 1902, along with many more large earthquakes that followed that led up to the October 24, 1902 eruption of the Santa Maria volcano in Guatemala. This eruption was one of the biggest in the 20th century. It was 18 to 20 long hours of Plinian eruption, which are extremely explosive eruptions, and it produced a column at least 28 kilometers high, reaching well into the stratosphere. The largest explosions occurred over the following 2 days, ejecting an estimated 8 cubic kilometers or 1.9 cm of magma. Before 1902, the volcano had been dormant for at least 500 years and possibly several thousand years. Eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia. The most horrendous blast on Earth in the past 10,000 years was the eruption of a volcano in Indonesia called Mount Tambora in 1815. More than 13,000 feet high, Tambora exploded and shot 12 cubic miles of gases, residue, and rock into the climate and onto the island of Sumbawa and the encompassing region. Streams of ash poured down the mountain's flanks and consumed prairies and woodlands. The ground shook, sending tsunamis racing across the Java Ocean. Mount Thera in Sanitorai, Greece. The Minoan eruption was a disastrous volcanic eruption that crushed the Aegean island of Thera, also called Santorini, around 1600 BC. It obliterated the Minoan settlement at Akrotiri, as well as villages and farming regions on neighboring islands and the bank of Crete, followed by earthquakes and tsunamis. These tsunamis had high waves from 115 feet to 492 feet that crushed the northern shoreline of Crete, 110 kilometers or 68 miles away. The tsunami impacted beachfront towns like Amisos, where buildings were knocked off their foundations. The VI was in the range of 6 to 7, resulting in about 14 cubic miles of dense rock equivalent. The eruption was one of the biggest volcanic events in human history. 1883 Krakatoa Eruption. Krakatoa is an island volcano along the Indonesian arc, between the much larger islands of Sumatra and Java. In August of 1883, the Krakatoa volcano eruption was so massive that it was heard from thousands of miles away on the Rodriguez Island, which is 4,653 kilometers away and across the Indian Sea. Debris fell on Singapore 840 kilometers toward the north, as well as Cocos Island, which is 1,155 kilometers toward the southwest, and even ships as far as 6,076 kilometers west-northwest. Murkiness covered the Sunda waterways from 11 a.m. on the 27th until daybreak the following day. The explosion caused a tsunami with huge waves that were 40 meters above sea level, wrecking everything in its way and throwing coral blocks gauging as much as 600 tons. Something like 36,417 individuals were killed, most by the gigantic ocean waves, and 165 seaside towns were obliterated. When the eruption was finished, just one-third of Krakatoa stayed above ocean level, and new islands of steaming pumice and debris lay toward the north where the ocean had been 36 meters above sea level. All of the recording barographs on the planet reported the passage of the atmospheric pressure wave, some recorded up to 7 times as the wave returned quickly and forward between the eruption site and its antipodes islands in New Zealand for 5 days after the blast. Novarupta eruption on the Alaska Peninsula in 1912. The world's biggest eruption of the 20th century happened in 1912 at Novarupta on the Alaskan Peninsula. It is estimated that 15 cubic kilometers of magma was violently emitted for 60 hours non-stop starting on June 6 of 1912. Not long after the impact, the debris crests reached out over western Canada and a few western U.S. states. By June 17 it had ventured out to Algeria. Debris, dust, and sulfuric sprayers from the 1912 impact are remembered to have created a dry spell in China and debilitated the late spring rainstorm in India the next year. Although nobody died because of the eruption, the gagging debris crushed a significant part of the plant and creature life in southern Alaska, including the salmon fishery, which didn't completely recuperate until 1919. A few local towns on the Katmai landmass were deserted forever after the eruption. Novarupta cleared out the district's mosquito population, and a huge number of vertebrates and birds are remembered to have died from starvation and from respiratory misery brought about by falling debris. Alright guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know